On today's episode, Spags has made a defensive tweak. Is JARIUS Sneed the ultimate cheat code for a Kansas City Super Bowl run? Also, the Broncos have named an interim head coach versus Kansas City. Is Eric Bienemy their long-term solution, though? We got some Chiefs roster shakeups, and the Chargers have made the playoffs. We'll talk about all that and more. Stick around.
So Steve Spagnuolo said that he tweaked the defense just a little bit just to try something new this last game, and obviously the defense looked pretty good, Mike. What did he have to say? I know he said he was moving around JARIUS Sneed a little bit. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, so he had JARIUS Sneed shadow DK Metcalf all day long. Sneed did give up a couple catches on Metcalf or whatever, but it wasn't nothing like crazy. It wasn't a it was a pretty good game plan, to be honest. It allowed McDuffie to kind of deal with slot and the number two receivers. McDuffie actually went up against Marquise Goodwin, Penny Hart, and Laquan Treadwell. Not the greatest of names there, but McDuffie only allowed one catch for 7 yards. And the one catch for 7 yards was a play on, I want to say, third down or fourth down, and he stopped them short of the chains. So they didn't get anything out of it. If you compare that to Defensive Rookie of the Year Sauce Gardner, Sauce gave up one catch for 23 yards this week against Jacksonville. So one catch for 7 yards is better than Sauce, Steve. Maybe McDuffie and JARIUS Sneed are the keys to us getting a Super Bowl run here with this defense and getting it lined up.
Yeah, so I'm going to be hard-pressed to believe that JARIUS Sneed's coverage is going to be what gets us to a Super Bowl unless he turns it up a notch, because JARIUS Sneed lets up a lot of receptions. So to have him shadowing the team's number one, I don't necessarily know if that's the best idea, but that's what Spags went with. DK Metcalf had a pretty big day, to be honest. I can't remember exactly what his stats were, but he had like 8 receptions and close to 100 yards receiving. So do you think this is something that's going to work going forward, especially if we have to play someone like the Bengals, who have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd?
Yeah, so I think what that does is instead of putting Sneed in the box and sending him after the quarterback a lot, it's actually allowing Trent McDuffie. We seen McDuffie to get after the quarterback a little bit the other day. He caused a bad throw there by Geno Smith at one point. He almost got to him. So maybe by keeping Sneed in pass coverage and not using him so much in the box or as a pass rusher, it is allowing maybe for stickier coverage on the back end, because we know Sneed can cover. He's very sticky. He grabs, he holds. He's very Fenton-esque. He doesn't get called as much as Fenton, so he's a little bit more savvy in that department. But yeah, that is allowing more coverage. You know, I want to say coverage sacks. It's not really coverage sacks because Chris Jones and them hold their own up front, but just that little delay and not being able to get that ball off so quick to their number one target, like Joe Burrow does with Jamar Chase and things, or like Josh Allen does with Stephon Diggs. This may allow the pass rush to start getting home a little bit. We've now seen George Karlaftis get 4 sacks in 5 weeks. Chris Jones had an enormous amount of pressures last week. Frank Clark's starting to get it together a little more. So it looks like this may be something going forward. We're just going to have to keep an eye on it. But I do think it's very strange that Spags has decided to shadow the number ones. That's not something we do in Kansas City very often.
Right. Well, if this pass rush gets after it the way they have been, that does make those first few seconds of the route very important. So how's that coverage in the first few seconds on these receivers' routes? Because if, as you said, George Karlaftis has got to the quarterback quite a bit in the last few weeks. Chris Jones has been consistent all year. Frank Clark's turning it on. He already has 6 sacks this year, and that matches his best year with KC so far. And we still have 2 more games to go, and he served a 2-game suspension, if you remember that. So, I mean, he's playing top notch as well. So if this defense can just work together, get this pass rush going, and get that locked down in the first few seconds to play, that could be deadly for some of these teams that should be putting up a lot of points.
The rookies have been an integral part. If you look at the DBs, if you look at Karlaftis, they've played a good role. And we've been kind of hard on Leo Chanel, but I just wanted to bring this stat up today I seen. Since week 9, Leo Chanel is a top 4 rated PFF graded linebacker in football. That is pretty big. Since week 9, he is also the highest graded defender out of this entire draft class. So Leo, props to Leo. He's coming on. He is starting to play the run very well. He's actually an asset in the run game. His coverage is getting a little better. I think his coverage was somewhere around like a graded 60 to 65, somewhere in that range. Can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, if Leo can come on, then that means the only few players we kind of missed on in this draft is so far as Kennard and Najee Johnson are the only ones that's not really contributing. But that's huge, man, because we've seen Brian Cook kind of get it together a little bit against the Seahawks. Karloftis and everybody's, doing well. We got the
Yeah.
corners. I mean, it's
It
good.
just it just very much feels like the typical Spags defense. I feel like they're getting it together at the right time. They're getting better at the end of the year. And Leo, he's kind of turned it up ever since they announced little Leo was coming. So maybe he knows he's got to make this career work and take care of that little guy or girl, whichever one it ends up being. But hey, let's go ahead and move on. There's some roster moves. We know Elijah Lee got poached last week, so that opened some things up for the linebackers. And then they went ahead and released Jerry and Ely today, which was kind of a shocker to me. I felt like he was somebody that could fit into this system and could have been like a secret little weapon for these guys eventually. But they went ahead and cut him. I guess they didn't see that. But they did try out 5 different guys today. They brought them in, and that was a defensive tackle, Mike Daniels. You guys know him from playing with the Packers, but he has been with the Bengals for the last 2 years. So maybe there's something to that. And then also they brought in 4 linebackers, Clarence Hicks, Justin Hilliard, Colin Tolson, and Barrington Wade. So they're looking to plug another linebacker into that mix. I don't think any of these guys are looking to come in and get a bunch of playing time or maybe even see the field of the 54. But it looks like to me they're trying to plug in some defensive depth. Mike, do you see anything from these potential signings that you would like to see happen or anything that could be useful for the Chiefs at all?
Not really. I just think they're bringing them in. They're looking for bodies. They're wanting to put people on the practice squad. They're trying to get a little intel here and there. Um, they're just covering all their bases. You have to do this late in the season. It's a long, grueling season. The NFL just keeps adding games on every year. It's just one of those things. I don't think any of these guys are going to come in and make a big splash or probably even play a single snap on Sundays. So yeah, I just think it's whatever. And is this something they had to do maybe to activate Miko off the IR? I'm not for sure if that's something that could play into it as well. Who knows? But yeah, I don't think there's nothing coming of any of these signings, to be honest.
Some big news though, the Chargers are actually going to be in the playoffs for the first time since like 2018. They played the horrendous Colts last night. The game was closer than it looked final score wise because they scored a lot there late, but they didn't get much competition there. And the Chargers did not look good to me. Justin Herbert was very, very bad. He killed a lot of fantasy teams last night with like his 4.5 fantasy points. So do you think that this could be a threat to the Chiefs though in the playoffs if we have to match up with the Chargers for the 3rd time this season, knowing that they always play us hard? Do you think that could be potential trouble for the Chiefs in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's a simple one. It's tough to beat a team 3 times in the same season. I know Cincinnati's done that to us, but it's not been in the same season. It was the same calendar year. Yeah, it's a divisional rivalry. Justin Herbert and them always play us well. They always hold Kelsey. They beat them to death. I mean, at some point, everybody gets lucky every now and then. And I'm not saying that they're a better team than us, but it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a row. I don't want to see them in the playoffs, to be honest.
I will tell you this. They look their best when they're playing the Chiefs. I'm telling you, you can watch the Chargers any other week of the year, and they look like a mediocre to bad team. Like Justin Herbert don't look good. Nobody looks good. They just don't. But then when they're playing the Chiefs, all of a sudden, they're the greatest in the world. Mike Williams is going for like 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it's just crazy how that works. And I'm with you. I think that's a little bit, of a worry because that kind of thing could happen to the Chiefs in the playoffs if we were to get matched up with them and beating a team 3 times in the season. Like you said, is very difficult. Yeah, but did you see those dirty shots from Derwin James yesterday?
Yeah, I see some clips of them. Derwin James, dude, Sean Merriman was on Twitter trying to tell us that wasn't a helmet to helmet.
Sean Merriman's the biggest homer ever. He's an idiot. Like anything that benefits the Chargers, he'll go with, even if he sounds like a complete moron.
Yeah, he did. He was like, no helmet to helmet. You can clearly see in the
Obviously was.
yeah, like their helmets are touching each other, like in the screenshot. I mean, come
He
on.
led with the crown of his helmet.
Yeah, just because you go to hit somebody's shoulder and you accidentally hit their helmet still doesn't make it a helmet to helmet. Like that's a helmet to helmet. I'm sorry, Sean Merriman, grow up. But yeah, getting back to the Chargers playoffs, I don't know. I think I'd rather see Miami over the Chargers, to be honest. That's saying something because I think Miami could be a dangerous team if they can get in. Yeah, I don't want to see them 3 times. I definitely don't want to see them in the playoffs. They play us too tough. Other people agree with me. I've seen it all day long on Twitter. It's just one of those things. I've actually seen Chief fans rooting for the success of Justin Herbert in the playoffs.
Can you believe that?
I don't understand
What
it.
in the world are they doing?
I don't understand it. Like,
Are you really a Chiefs fan?
dude?
If
I don't
you
want
are
to see Justin
cheering
Herbert.
for the
Right.
Chargers. Like,
I don't want to see Herbert ever win a playoff game. The same way I didn't
I
want
don't
to
want
see
to see him
Derek
win a game.
Carr. Yeah, I don't. I hope they all lose all the time.
Unreal, dude.
I don't get it.
Unreal. Well, that's another thing is I don't want to see them just for the sheer fact that even if we beat the crap out of them, you have Derwin James out there taking cheap shots at people, and then we have the rest of the playoffs to go. So do you really want him headhunting against Kelsey and Juju? No, because he's obviously a dirty player. He doesn't care to do that. So no, I don't want to see it. So that's enough about the Chargers. I hope they, go back into the loser oblivion that they've always been in, shortly into the playoffs. So let's move on to another team that we love to hate, and that's the Denver Broncos. They went ahead and signed an interim head coach today. Mike, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, they signed Jerry Rossberg. He's a senior assistant that was actually hired by Nathaniel Hackett, and I want to say week 2. And he was basically just brought in to be a clock manager. He was brought in to make coaching decisions that the head coach was brought in to do, which is really weird, really strange. Hackett basically hires his replacement 2 weeks into the season. This is a really strange hiring. The Broncos front office is a dumpster fire. I don't understand them. I don't understand how their GM still has a job. Yeah, Russell Wilson's lost his entire team. They're just horrible. They should not be that big of a hurdle for the Chiefs this week, if you want to call it that. But my question to you, Steve, is they passed up Eric Bienemy in the offseason to go with Nathaniel Hackett. Is Eric Bienemy possibly their long-term solution there? Do you think they may look to him again or give him another shot? Or do you think that ship sailed?
Well, here's the thing. I think the hiring, I think they didn't care who they had step in as interim head coach for the last 2 games of the season. It's been a complete circus in Denver. So I think they just want to hurry up and get the season over with. It doesn't matter who steps in. They could have put a mannequin on the sideline and wrote head coach on it, and that would have been the same deal. But as far as what you're saying with Eric Bieniemy, I think if Eric Bieniemy has the chance to actually be a head coach in the NFL, this would be it. It would be the Denver Broncos for 2 reasons. We know he's a Colorado guy. He went to college there, so they like him. Also, he knows a lot about the Chiefs. And the Broncos obviously have not beat the Chiefs since the iPhone was created. So they want to beat the Chiefs. How much better of a chance can you get than having their offensive coordinator as your head coach? Who knows the most about Andy Reid and his system? Eric Bieniemy. So,
Right.
I mean, I think that that's his shot. Honestly, I don't think Eric Bieniemy is head coach material. He's been passed on too many times by too many teams. And there's obviously something there that they just do not like. So I think this is his last opportunity. I think he could very well be the head coach of Denver next season. I think that's a big possibility.
Okay, well, I don't see it, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, I just don't think they go back to the first year coach well. I just don't think they want to go that route. Denver has too much pride. I think they go to somebody established. I think they throw a lot of money at Sean Payton. I don't think Sean Payton wants to step into that situation. I don't know who would want to step into that situation, to be honest. With Russ under contract, all that dead money, if you get rid of him, nobody on the team likes him. Like, it's a disaster. It looks like that their defense has just quit playing. So they may have lost so many people. They paid Randy Gregory like $70 million. He's played like 7 games. He's punched more people than sacks. So I don't even understand who would want that job, but I really don't think they'll go back to Bieniemy. Although Colorado did hire Deion Sanders, and Eric Bieniemy looks like he ate Deion Sanders. So there's that. I mean, he kind of looks like
Possibility.
Deion Sanders.
Yeah, but you were talking about Sean Payton. I think we will see him in the AFC West next year because I think he had shown interest in the Raiders job, if I'm not mistaken. A few weeks back, he'd posted a tweet or something like that. And then you have Denver, who would love to get him in there. So I think there's a good chance that you might see him in the AFC West next year. So that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Also,
But
in the AFC West, you may see Sean Payton on the Raiders sideline, and their quarterback very well might be Tom Brady. That could be a
yeah, who
possibility.
cares?
But
I don't care. Tom Brady, he's been a dumpster fire in his own right this year. I mean, everyone's talking about Russell Wilson. Tom Brady sucks too. He's been god awful this year. And it's because he's, a grandfather trying to play football. It's time to hang it up, bub. So yeah, sure. Please Go to the Raiders to die so we can watch it happen. I don't give a crap. Yeah, but I wish we had more time to talk about our defense. We talked about a little bit of tweaks today that Spags made. Yesterday, we talked about how they're the number 7th ranked defense according to PFF. So make sure to get over and watch this video right here. Make sure to get in the comments. Let us know what you think about it. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk more about this Denver Broncos game coming up. Take it easy, Chiefs Kingdom. Peace.
Echoes aside from my soul.